So this is how cold it can get in my garden sometimes. Luckily it doesn't happen very often. And so I'm going to go over a couple of tips as to how to keep your plants warm in the winter just to protect them. And we're going to be checking in as well just to see how they're doing. This right here is pine bark mulch, and this really is your friend in the winter. It helps to keep them warm. And you can use different types. Cypress mulch, there are many different types. It just depends on what you prefer. And it acts like a blanket over them and helps them to stay warm. And this right here is my daffodil and my little bird feeder right next to it that a dear friend gave to me some years ago. And as you can see, the daffodils are coming up through the mulch. So they're making their way through. And for these, you'll probably just want to water them maybe twice a week. And you can just reach in under the mulch and check to see if they're dried out. And if they are, then you'll want to water them thoroughly. And make sure that after you've watered them, that you notice that the water is running out from the bottom of the pot. And that way you know for sure that they have had a good soak, and that'll keep them going. If it's raining in your area, then of course you'll need to do it less. There are some here that are in my flower bed, and these have gotten thicker. That's a good thing about daffodils, you know, they tend to multiply, so you have more and more as the years go by. And I'll need to do a little cleaning up there, remove some of the leaves that fell there. Here you can see my hydrangea. It doesn't look like a whole lot right now, but it is perfectly fine. It's just dormant right now for the most part. I did not get to trim the flowers off in the fall. And so at this point I would not trim them, because in doing so you might end up losing some of the buds that would come out in the spring. So it's best to leave them and wait until you see them coming out a little bit, and then you'll know where to cut and where not to cut. Because you want to have nice fluffy blooms when the spring comes out. And here's a closer look so you can take a look to see the little buds that I'm talking about right there. So when they come out fully in the spring, then you can always go in and cut off those spent blooms. And I'm going to show you, as you can see here, it looks really nice when it comes out in the springtime. Here you have some lilies. These are making their way up, and these also multiply over time. So that's always a plus. And pretty close by I have my rose bushes here. And as you can see, there are no leaves on there. I still need to do a little bit more pruning though, because there are some cross branches in there. And you want them to have proper circulation, so that way they don't get any fungal infections when the weather gets hot and wet. And these look really, really nice in the springtime. This is what the lilies look like when they come out. Very pretty. And that's what my roses look like. I have white ones and I have the red ones right next to it. Here is my saucer magnolia, also known as a tulip tree. And as you can see, I put mulch around it. And sometimes it might get washed out by the rain. If that ever happens, you can just put more there and just make sure that you have at least a depth of 2 inches to make sure that, you know, their root system is kept nice and warm. And it also retains moisture just in case you have drying weather. And this is what it looks like in the springtime. A few of the, you know, the blooms fell off, but it's really nice. And this right here is camellia. This one is the red variety. They have pink and they also have white. But I like this one. And these are really early, because typically the buds don't start opening up so early. It's been a little warmer than usual this winter. But there's going to be many, many more coming out. And this plant doesn't like to be out in the drafts, so it's best to keep it in a slightly sheltered area. If you ever buy one and you're looking at a place to put it, that would be ideal. And just mulch, you know, as you typically would for a shrub. And this is what it looks like in the springtime. There's some of the blooms out, very big flowers, and there's more coming. And this right here is my kale that I did in a previous video, along with the pansies. For some reason, I don't know, the ones on the right, they turned orange when I thought they were all going to be yellow, but it's okay. You know, it's very colorful, very pretty, and they seem to be growing a little bit faster than the ones on the left, but they'll all get caught up. As long as more blooms come out, you'll get to see that, and they definitely will. And of course, you'll also want to check on plants like this to make sure that there's enough moisture. And typically, maybe twice a week would be good enough as far as how much water to put on there. And right next to it, you will see that I have my violas. And these are like cousins to the pansies. They're a little bit smaller, but very similar in how you care for them. And they're very good in the cold weather. They're very resistant to the cold. They may look a little, you know, withered a little bit when the weather gets really cold on them, but they pop right back up. And these are my chrysanthemums. And you may remember these from a previous video if you watch it. If not, you can always go in at another time and take a look. I had to cut them all the way back down just to make sure that they would spring up nice in the right season. And you can see that there's some little babies coming up there, and those might actually get frostbitten when it gets cold again, and that's fine. It's just a natural part of the whole process. But in the springtime, when everything warms up, it will come all the way out and everything will be nice and full. And this right back here is actually a fern that just grew in my backyard, and I took it and I put it in the pot and I cut it all the way back when the weather gets cold, and as the season changes, it comes right back out. And here you will see the chrysanthemums that I showed you from the previous video in the fall. And this is my holly right here, and it has some berries on there. Mine is shaped so it doesn't have as many berries as it could. If you want more berries and you have it be a little more free form, but I prefer mine like that. And this right here is the Nandina, also has berries on it too. And both sets of berries are really, the birds don't have them and we shouldn't have them either. These actually, the leaves get red in the fall and sometimes in the winter too, and that also adds an additional pop of color to your garden. And it's pretty low maintenance. There's not a whole lot that you have to do with it. And you can always check to see if it's a plant that would grow in the zone where you live, because some of these winter plants are hardier than others. And that's a close-up look there of what the berries look like. So I hope this helped, and I do thank you so much for watching. And remember to subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope you'll enjoy the rest of your winter, and we look forward to the spring.